shame that he threw up in that match.
Yeah, that's for sure. But it's all in the past now. Right now, we've got this match between Schwartz and Kyle, and I think it's going to be a good one. And we're off. Uncle is error.
Yeah, we get a piece of heart out of the very first chest, so let's head over towards the uncle, find out exactly what he has in store, as both of our runners will leave, and we do a map check, and I did believe we have 2 crystals, 1 pendant.
Yep, that was blue crystals in Eastern Palace and Tower of Hera, and a blue pendant in Desert Palace.
So we get ourselves at least closer to where we're supposed to go. Let's find out what the uncle has. Way, we're both incorrect. It's the fire rod, one of my favorite weapons to begin this this game with.
This fire rod is an absurdly powerful weapon, especially early in this game. You're just going to obliterate all these weak enemies, and there's not much of an option. Except there is an option, because now you have a sword. Wow.
Almost vanilla.
Almost vanilla. I was just ready to talk about how the runners are going to have to be careful with killing enemies looking for bombs, because they only got 8 shots on that full magic bar, but no, they don't have to be careful anymore. They can just cut these guards up.
Yeah, they can go ahead and use some of the fire rod shots on, like, for instance, they could use it on the blue guards because they will go down 1 hit as opposed to needing 3 sword hits on them. Also good for attacking the ropes, because the splatter often kills multiple ropes at once.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the interesting things about the fire rod in comparison to other weapons is that the hitbox stays out for a while. It's just like lingers a little bit there, and it can hit multiple enemies. And it's helpful in rooms like that one room in sewers with all the ropes.
And you notice there's not really much of a time difference, as you saw one of the runners go with the fire rod strats. That was sillykyle. The other one went with the sword strats, the iamtheschwarz. And we had vanilla in that 3rd chest of the game.
Yeah, and it's worth pointing out that Schwartz has map checked, and I don't think Kyle has.
Kyle has not.
So Kyle's going to have to map check at some point, so we can say that Schwartz has a lead of like a couple seconds maybe at this point.
Both runners going with the sword strands for that 2nd blue guard. Let's see how they both attack the ball and chain guard. What's the easiest way of disposing of this ball and chain guard? 1
fire rod shot right to the face.
Roast him.
Easy peasy. Just a $20 bill in Zelda cell. And I believe we're seeing a frog and 3 princesses on screen right now.
Interesting. Wasn't that a name of a song? No, something different.
Pretty close.
Almost.
Alright, so everyone's going to be making their way back upstairs towards the throne room. They're going to have to adventure through the dark sewers to the sanctuary.
I love the fact that the princess's moves mirrors the princess's moves.
I mean, you are like walking alongside yourself. I think it's probably to be expected.
See, sillykyle opting to go sword down a few more of the guards in hopes of finding a bomb drop. Neither of these runners have found a bomb drop, and it's likely that the guards are not part of that drop group.
Yep, both our runners are looking for a bomb so that they can blow up an optional cracked wall in the back of this escape sequence. If you miss it, and you'll have to come back later, which is not always the end of the world, but it can be a huge difference if something like a power glove is hidden in that side room.
And there's the bomb drop for iamtheschwarz, getting it off the ropes as sillykyle comes in here and splatters off some of those ropes, and there's the bomb drop for Silly Kyles and both runners getting their bomb drop.
So it'll be interesting to see if there's something nice in there.
I know that single arrow wasn't nice.
Well, at least that's out of the way. We don't have to worry about where that ends up.
But what are we going to talk about if we get all the memes out of the way in the first 5 minutes of the run?
Yeah, we're gonna have to actually talk about the race. I don't know if I can do it.
Too much excitement for me.
Alright, here's our look at the side room of Escape. Hard container, $20, and a bomb upgrade. So, nothing they're going to miss out on. Probably just the peace of mind of knowing what's not there is more valuable than what they actually found.
Getting that heart is nice at this point with only 3 hearts, and you never know when this game is going to send you to the Dark World.
Yeah, the Dark World, when even the most common enemies will hit you for 2 hearts of damage if you're on green mail. It's really nice to have a few extra heart containers in your pocket.
Another bomb upgrade in the Sanctuary. So we're getting several bomb upgrades, and also thanks Vulgar Latin on the Twitch Prime sub.
The bomb upgrades, despite being one of the quote-unquote useless junk items, it's actually nice to have 1 or 2 of those early in the game when you're doing a lot of exploring, blowing up a lot of walls. If you find bombs, it can be nice to just be able to walk around with 15 or 20 of them and fill up your bombs super quick, because our tier 2 pull tree is giving 8 bombs times 4.
Alright, so let's go ahead and see what we have in the Lumberjack. We get our second sword upgrade in the Hideaway, and was that a bottle we see?
Yeah, I think that was a bottle with a B in it.
So, unlikely that Aghanim's going to be required to get that, but you never know when that's going to turn out to be your first bottle.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's got to be on their mind a little bit with an early Master Sword too, because as soon as they find a lamp, that puts Aghanim in logic.
All right, Kakariko Village. Let's go ahead and see all the great items that we have in here. So far, we have very little progression.
Yeah, the Kakariko Village run at the start of the race is a lot of what defines what the rest of the seed is going to play out like. There's so many items here, like a hammer that could end up opening up a lot of the game or send them on just a linear path. It all depends.
Always extremely nice getting that hammer early on, because the hammer can lock you out of so much of this game.
Yeah, not only can it lock you out of so much of the game, but it makes a lot of things easier, especially routing in the Dark World. If you're spending a long time without the hammer, you might have to take some very painful walks around the Dark World, starting at the Village of Outcasts. It's certainly an item that you're relieved to see early.
So we already got the hammer, we got level 2 sword. We've got, never mind that bottle for Aghanim. Never mind that. But it's nice getting the bottle, because that's great for routing.
Exactly. Because one location here, the sick kid, is gated behind having at least 1 bottle. So this means that you won't have to come back to Kakariko Village just to check 1 more item location. You can knock it out while you're here.
Alright, Chicken Coop has 10 arrows. But I think the biggest item that we have found so far in Kakariko Village is the hammer.
Yeah, without a doubt. That's a big one, but usually you're hoping to get maybe 1 or 2 more progression items in this Kakariko Village trip. Just because you kind of want more options opened up early on because it's a lot easier to route. You don't need to walk back and forth across the world map when you have not a whole lot you can do.
And why not give him another bottle? That's almost
Nice.
vanilla, except for where you normally don't have a fairy inside that bottle.
So with a red potion and a fairy, they've at least got some nice safeties.
And we're not going to need the boots to pick up those bombs.
Not at all.
Let's see if the race game has anything interesting.
Schwarz opting to jump down and check instead of just rushing, and oh, that's an ether medallion.
That's an ether medallion that you may need later on, so you might as well go through the racing game to go ahead and grab it. As sillykyle makes his way now down towards the library in the race game, I am the Schwarz. Finishing up this Kakariko Village play.
It's interesting. You could make the argument that it's not worth getting it now, because you don't know if you'll need it later, and this location could possibly be accessed really easy from the Dark World if you come to get the digging game with the mirror. But it is also true that the ether will potentially be helpful in combat situations. For example, especially with the fire rod, if it happens that they end up going to Skull Woods, they can take out Gibdos really quickly and efficiently with that. Looks like Schwarz is going to be taking the usual standard route after clearing out Kakariko, save and quit to the house and continue south. Check out the dam, probably go east towards Mini Moldorm Cave. One more trip through the dam here.
And a moon pearl for our troubles. So now that means we are one item away from Dark World. Excuse me, Dark World access.
No worries. Yeah, they just gotta find the power glove. They're in business. So Schwarz making a liar of me, not going east towards Mini Moldorm Cave, but instead going west to check out Desert Ledge and Ajina's Cave. Just a heart container out there, so nothing to worry about. Kyle will be picking up his Moon Pearl and see what he does. And he's going east. We got divergence already. You know, it's funny, I see that in chat. This is the first time I've been called out for pronouncing Ajina correctly. I know it makes me sound like a maniac, but I'm right. Anyway, Mini Moldorm Cave not coming up with much, which is always a little bit disappointing. You go to a location with 5 items and none of them being important. Except for that blue boomerang was like helpful, but not a required thing to have. Oh no, that was unfortunate. But thankfully they do have that fairy from the Terran. That's where the fairy was from. So it's going to be fine. It's just probably earlier than he wanted to use it. And on Kyle's side, we're going to see what's inside the Ice Rod Cave, and it's just a piece of heart. So, Lake Hylia shore, not really that valuable this time. We'll see where Kyle goes next. So we're going to be probably going to see Sahasrara first, and then dip into Eastern Palace if what's in Sahasrara's closet doesn't change things a lot. That might change things. We got flippers and half magic. Flippers opens up a few locations in Lake Hylia. Also, slightly worryingly, it puts Zora in logic. We didn't have the glove before, so King Zora was not in logic. But now it is, and neither of our runners are really all that close to the 500 rupees they need to purchase the item for him. So, if Eastern comes up empty, we might see some rupee farming happening soon, which is always a little bit annoying without the glove and with the flippers, because you can't do the money farming cave, and I don't believe there's any way you can go to Houlihan's room at this point. First chest in Eastern Palace holding the big key. So, no treasures yet, but that'll make routing this place potentially a little easier. It's possible that they might not have to take the long way around if they find all the other items really early. Yeah, I believe my co-commentator is probably dealing with hiccups. But that's okay. So no excitement here. Not yet. But still got 2 items to find. Fortunately, spawning the 3rd Stalfos, but gets through the room. And our next treasure chest is a compass. So unfortunately, not the God EP we were hoping with, but the big chest has a heart piece. So just 2 heart pieces so far. The dungeon being kind of half-hearted in giving us any kind of value. But Kyle is opting to continue the trip even though this is out of sequence without a lamp. It's not that hard to do. Gonna let him check one more item. Hopefully find something nice.
It'd be amazing if he found the bow here.
That would be amazing. Then you gotta wonder where that lamp is.
But instead, it's just a piece of paper that tells you how to get to the boss and various other places in Eastern Palace.
Man, Eastern Palace is such an labyrinth. I think even the best runners need a map of the place.
So it looks like Silly Kyle is going to go and test the waters of his new pickup with the flippers.
Yep, starting from this shore, you'll get a quick look at what's on the island there, which is an arrow upgrade.
Yeah, that's something that you do not need to see. Also, my apologies for stepping out. The hiccups decided they were going to come fast and furious, and nobody really wants to hear hiccups.
Oh,
Hiccups,
no.
hiccups all throughout the entire commentary. All right,
Please be
Hobo,
safe.
what do you got? Hobo has money. Okay, well, we are getting closer to that Zora money, but still not there.
It's kind of ironic. So we got 3 more of these flipper blocked locations besides Zora. And it's looking like Kyle's just going to go there instead of going to grind money first. Which is, again, probably reasonable because it's very, very difficult and slow to grind money with our current equipment. Without access to the money grinding cave near desert and without access to Houlihan's room. It's not really a whole lot of good places to do it. So I think he's hoping for either something in one of these 3 locations, 2 down and only $20. Or he's hoping that he'll find a 300.
Now, if this was a bit race, this is where people would probably be sending in their bids to try to give him 300 rupees that he needs to go ahead and purchase the item off of Zora. But there's the Power Glove. That's our Dark World access.
So yeah, that is going to soothe the burn a little bit, because they're going to be able to take that and go places with it, and then come back to pay off Zora later if they so choose.
They can, if they really want to, pair it together with the Quakefish check. Now, we're going to get to see what the free bottle prize is over here at the waterfall. Is it going to be something good for I Am the Schwarz? Nope. There's a bottle with a B in it.
Unfortunately, it's impossible for the Waterfall Fairy to fill up your bottle with 300 rupees.
But it could fill it up with good bees worth 100 rupees apiece, but you'd still have the backtrack.
Man, at that point, you might as well just farm in Blind's basement.
This is not the time for you to save and quit, I Am the Schwarz. You need that glove.
Yeah, you sort of see him just say, wait a minute. I was expecting this to be worthless, but it's not. It's really not. So with the glove in hand, Sillykyle is going to be going around the long way here and warping to the village of outcasts, which is a pretty reasonable place to start. There's a lot of items here, but you'll also see a lot of runners start at Hype Cave first, which I think Schwarz might be doing.
Yeah, we gotta have a route divergence here, as I Am the Schwarz is gonna go ahead and check Hype Cave. 5 quick access items. It is chest density here for I Am the Schwarz. Sillykyle wanting to give us some information on what the Dark World has in store. Will we get an immediate map check? Yes, we will. We find out that green pendant turns out to be the Palace of Darkness, and
it's a red pendant at Thieves Town, red crystals at Swamp Palace and Skull Woods.
And there's our map check from I Am the Schwarz. So green pendant and Pod eliminates the bow from being on the pedestal. Darn. I was hoping we could join the Quiver class.
Man, bow is one of the nastiest items to find on the pedestal just because the nature of that thing. It's always required, but only locks a little bit, really.
Cane of Samaria from the NPC here in Hype Cave. And Hype Cave otherwise, well, nothing else dramatic, but that Cane Samaria is required.
It is required, but also not really that useful just yet. It's really good to find early, but they could have found it later and it would be just as good. Kyle, meanwhile, has taken a dip right into Skull Woods. It'll be interesting to see if he intends to go all the way through this dungeon or is just looking for items first, because Mafia can be an intimidating boss to fight under these low HP conditions.
Hey, there's a lamp.
That's something super important. Even though they do have the fire rod to light torches with, even if you're the best runner in this game, being able to see in dark rooms will help you do them faster. So that A is a bit of a help in terms of execution, and B means you don't have to really worry about sequence breaking those dark rooms and don't have to keep it in mind. It makes routing a lot simpler for you.
And this looks like this is a painful dig, and it is for money, so, well, I guess now we have that money for Zora.
A little late, but now we do.
Well, why would you give it to these runners when they needed the money? Turns out a bomb upgrade is the second item, and iamtheschwarz is not, sillykyle is not getting out of here.
Yeah, it's not a save and quit. I guess he's going to Mothula.
Yeah, which is an interesting decision with the amount of hearts that he has. But probably figures he needs to make moves like this if he's going to try to make the brackets.
Yeah, this is a confident move, and hopefully it works out. It's just very difficult.
Yeah,
it is worth pointing out that they do have a red potion, both runners. I think Kyle actually has his fairy too. It was Schwarz that ended up using it earlier in Mini Moldarm Cave, so it's probably not as dire as it seems. But still, it's not easy.
Now, with the safeties done, that makes this a little more of an understandable play, because without those safeties, you'd be talking about a real pressure cooker for the runners. With only 6 hearts, that means sillykyle is dead if he gets touched by Mothula or its beams 3 times.
And with a fight as chaotic as Mothula, where you're kind of fighting the wildly shifting arena more than the boss itself, that is not much of a margin for error.
Well, let's see if sillykyle can get through it. As we've already found both of the items here in Skull Woods, iamtheschwarz having a little bit of issues here. Gets the spins around on Mothula, hits him with a fire rod to get him out of the corner. That's a nice strategy right there.
That's, yeah, one of my favorite things to do is use the fire rod more to manipulate Mothula's position rather than to do damage, because it doesn't really do that much damage.
Beautiful fight for sillykyle, finishing off the bug. Picks up the compass, but we have our first crystal of the game.
Nice. Didn't even need the safety items. That was a great fight.
And we'll likely see tough decision to make with the Thieves Town being a pendant instead of for a crystal, because obviously with it being a crystal, that'd be an absolute necessity at this point going into Thieves Town.
Absolutely.
Looks like iamtheschwarz trying to line himself up for a bomb jump and has unfortunately messed it up a few times, but down to 1 single heart. So he's going to have to give up on the bomb jump, because if he took the bomb blast, he would be dead.
That bomb jump is hard to do. Without the boots to assist, you're looking at a 2-pixel window vertically that you can stand in to make that bomb jump work. It's always difficult. You know, some runners will line it up using the shield, but they don't have a shield yet.
All right, so they kind of going to check the bumper cave, and we find out that it is all of 20 rupees.
Again, even finding nothing there, it's a little disappointing, but it crosses that location off the list. You don't need to think about it or worry about it anymore.
And iamtheschwarz making the same play, heading over to Mothula. And this will be a little more of a tense fight for iamtheschwarz, because his safety comes by way of that red potion, correct?
Yes, he did have the fairy, but ended up using it in Mini Moldarm Cave after getting knocked into a pit by a Moldarm with his last 2 hearts. So he's got a little less room for error, and he also has to be careful to activate that red potion if he needs it. He's not going to have the automatic safety of the fairy. Kyle continuing through the Village of Outcasts. Looking for more items.
Yeah, we're gonna get the chest game check, as well as various other spots here in the Village of Outcasts to get a piece of heart that puts Silly Kyle at 7. iamtheschwarz is currently down to 6 hearts, make it 5 hearts. Gonna have to be careful.
Seems like he's focusing on defense at this point, trying to dodge the spikes.
Got him.
Doing very well. Deals a lot of damage in a very short amount of time to end the fight.
That could have been scary just because of the fact that if you get bodied, you could be finding yourself down a lot of health really, really fast.
One of the things about bosses like Mafia is that often, really, the best defense is a good offense. Ending the fight early reduces your hit time with all those spikes flying around.
So both runners done with their Mafia fights. They finish them off with 6 and 7 hearts respectively, and they didn't have to duck into any of their safeties to get through the fights. We do see iamtheschwarz using the bumpers to help move them around a little bit faster.
Something you don't see a lot, but it is a good idea.
Without the hook shot, without the boots, there's really no way to move around faster unless you do the pumping strats, and even there's only so much of that we can do as we find one of the best items to find for the blind fight if we have to go that far, the Cane of Burna.
Cane of Burna absolutely trivializes the blind fight as long as you have enough magic, because it makes you invincible and also damages blind for exactly as much as any other weapon.
And with the half magic there, it is going to be quite the easy battle if Silly Kyle goes that far. The question is will Silly Kyle go deep enough? This is a pendant dungeon, so we don't know if Silly Kyle's going to go all the way here.
Yeah, it'll probably depend on when he finds all the items in this dungeon, because you have to go down to the basement most of the time anyway. So by that point, it's really just a short walk to grab the fake maiden and start the fight with blind. It may be worth doing just in case we have a pedestal seed.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's only very few options that can be on the pedestal. We'll explore them a little bit later on as we move along in this seed, but having Palace of Darkness be one of your pendant dungeons kind of removes some of the possibilities we got going on here.
And probably the biggest, most interesting option for pedestal at this point, it's got to be
Titan's Mint in Thieves Town.
Wow, I was gonna say it's got to be the hook shot. But picking up the Titan's Mint in its almost vanilla location is going to open things up a little more.
So we do know that a walk deep into Thieves Town is going to be needed. We cannot do just the first 4 and get out. Now this does open up a few more things, like for instance it opens up Peg Cave, it opens up the 2 trading sequences with the Dwarf Breadsmith and the Purple Chest.
Exactly, and importantly, iamtheschwarz has not decided to go to Thieves Town right away. Instead, he's taking his glove and lamp and going up to Death Mountain.
This pays off if he finds the hook shop, but in the same token, that means Silly Kyle will be able to make the entire Death Mountain trip in one go.
Yes, and not only that, but as you mentioned, Thieves Town is a pendant dungeon, and it's the kind of dungeon you tend to avoid if you don't need to do it. Which means that if Schwartz finds some more stuff to route with up here on Death Mountain, that will distract him from going to Thieves Town, which we know he absolutely has to do at some point.
Getting rupees from the old man, he's only got one other place he can check at this point.
He can check Spectacle Rock and the item inside, but can only collect the item inside at this point without the mirror.
Alright, Silly Kyle going off against Blind, and right now keeping the script, getting the first 3 hits immediately. Easy fight if you keep him in the script.
Seems to be doing fine so far.
And iamtheschwarz immediately blocked out of anything else here in Death Mountain because that's just a heart container. It's not a mirror. It's not a hook shot. We get a compass off Blind, and there's the pentagram for Silly Kyle. But the most important thing, The Titans are in there, and there's no way that I Am the Schwarz can ignore that for super long.
I'm just gotta hope for his sake that he doesn't really find a whole lot right now and gets funneled over there soon.
And technically, Ice Palace could be beatable at this point, key dependent for sillykyle.
Yes, absolutely, because the hook shot is sometimes logically required. But with some tricky bomb jumps, which both our runners definitely know, they can get around the place without it.
And not only that, but we've seen seeds where Coldstar has had the hook shot before, as we find 20 rupees inside of the peg cave.
Yeah, items like hammer or hook shot being found in places like Ice Palace are always the kind of seeds you remember and probably get a little angry about thinking.
I'm the Schwarz checking the pyramid, and we find on the pyramid it's just vanilla, a piece of heart. As sillykyle will go ahead and do the digging game, and we'll go about 20 so digs to find 300 rupees. Sillykyle, with not enough rupees for Zora at this point, would actually give him enough.
And heading north, he's probably going to catfish. Without the hook shot, there's not really much else to do in this direction.
Yep, I Am the Schwarz going to catfish at this point, but without the mirror, he can't go ahead and make the purchase at Zora.
Yeah, this is like absolutely not the route that Schwarz wanted to take, but he's running out of options.
Well, I Am the Schwarz right now, his options pretty much are I can dip into Pendant, Thieves Town, I can dip into Pendant, Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, and Palace of Darkness has the potential to just be absolutely nothing and not even making much progression in the dungeon. You could just like pick up a big 20 in the first chest and have to turn around and leave.
Well, that looks like that's where I Am the Schwarz is going to be going at this point, as he is not saving and quitting, so that gives me the idea that he will be going over to the Palace of Darkness as sillykyle collects some more rupees, making his way over towards the Hype Cave, where he will collect the Cane of Samaria. And I Am the Schwarz, down to 1 heart, has opted to go ahead and burn his red potion.
Yeah, you don't want to die in the overworld, and especially in the dark world, because there are no checkpoints out here. You're just going to get sent back to the light world without the mirror and without having defeated Aghanim, so it really does waste a lot of time. So I think it was a good play to drink the potion right there.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that you'd have to go right back to your house and walk back around, which at this point could probably be a wash, but it still would be an unfortunate death to take.
So Kyle picks up his cane here in the Hype Cave, and as I mentioned earlier, that's not a disadvantage for Kyle that he got it later, because the cane isn't even useful yet.
Right, it doesn't come into importance until, at the very least, logically, until the Ice Palace. Once again, Ice Palace is a dungeon that sillykyle can go into at this point, but you're probably going to see sillykyle put it off for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it looks like he's... Well, I don't know why he still has the frog with him. He's probably going to catfish, or maybe the pyramid.
Yeah, he's going to catfish and saving or quitting, and then walking him back. Seemed like a long time ago when this kind of play would be completely unorthodox, but ever since they made it so that the mirror could be in the middle of this sequence, this is not quite the unorthodox play as it was back in the spring tournament last year.
It's the kind of thing you have to do, especially when you're in a seed like this that seems to restrict your options. The more linear the seed is, the more likely you're going to see plays like this, sort of thinking ahead, setting up the frog quest and going around and knocking out some other things in the overworld while you're doing it.
Well, you might as well at this point, as it does look like I Am the Schwarz is not checking the key logic here behind that third chest and going all the way straight to the back, and I can totally dig this play.
Oh, looks like he's going for a hammer, yeah, but unfortunately threw a bomb in the wrong direction.
Yeah, he threw it right towards the mini Helmosaur instead of throwing it to the wall like he really wanted to. So we see a single rupee is the first of the 5 items that can be in the Palace of Darkness.
It's a convenient spot for the big key. It's good that it wasn't in one of the chests he left in the front of the dungeon.
Yeah, it always sucks when the big key turns out to be in its vanilla location.
Now we're going to have a look at the dark maze, which is not going to be so dark because they found the lamp already.
So far we have Money Cave.
It's just 21 rupees, I believe,
Yep,
found so far.
Rupees.
That's 22.
That's a bomb capacity upgrade. That's 3 out of the 5 items here, so the options slowly becoming limited here for iamtheschwarz. And a compass.
Wow.
Ooh.
So at this point, I think there's just one more item you can check. That's the one you jump down to from the main area of Pod.
And if that turns out to be a key, you can get to the big key chest, but we see iamtheschwarz pulling off the death warp here. Sillykyle getting a heart container off the breadsmiths. Looks like Sillykyle is getting ready to do the purple chest.
Yep. And heart container is actually still pretty nice with green mail and now 8 hearts. Usually every heart container you pick up until you have around 10 or so still feels pretty good, especially without any armor upgrades at all.
So unfortunately for iamtheschwarz, the story continues, because with that small key, now we can get to the big key chest.
Yes, so I believe it is not in logic yet. Or it could be. Depends on where the keys are, I guess. If there's a small key behind one or the other of these 2 remaining chests, it could be.
And a small key.
So that means if he wants to continue being thorough, well, actually, does he need to do anything else? Yeah, he can go back to the Harmless Hellway.
Yeah.
And then there are still those 2 chests that are bow locked on the right side that are still a mystery.
Because it could very well be that the 2 chests that we can't see could just be a key and nothing else useful, as we find an arrow upgrade over at the purple chest. So Sillykyle looks like he'll be heading over towards the Agina Cave right now, or how do you pronounce it?
Agina. Which is, for my proof on that, you can check the Japanese script, where it's very clear that Aghanim and Agina are pronounced 2 very different ways.
Whoa!
Wow, okay. All of a sudden, Pod went from resident sleeper to PogChamp.
Well, guess what? 2 pendant dungeons down. And both of them having something important deep inside.
Yeah, like as deep inside as you're gonna find him, too.
But here's the problem with what iamtheschwarz is doing.
He doesn't
He's
have
gonna
mitts.
to connect with this mountain because he doesn't have those mitts.
Yeah, and this is what I was kind of afraid of. He's going to find progression items and be distracted from the one location with an absolutely required item. And it's going to hurt him routing a little bit later, unless they hit go mode without having to check anything in Dark Death Mountain.
Although this looks like this is about to be canceled out, as it looks like Sillykyle is about to go up the mountain. So Sillykyle is going to have to make a backtrack up the mountain.
Okay.
And we get our tempered sword and our first shield.
The bottom part of Paradox Cave acting like the vanilla uncle. pack of bombs, a blue potion, a heart container. 20 bucks and a heart piece. So absolutely no progression here. But finding that tempered sword is pretty nice.
Yeah, the tempered sword is nice. But this isn't done for iamtheschwarz. He's going to Hera next.
Yep. With that hammer, you can get there the long way around. Kyle getting ganged up on by the cabbages from the sky. They were really going out of their way to make his life hard.
So the Tower of Hera trip here for iamtheschwarz, and sillykyle is doing, wow, Spike Cave.
Interesting. I mean, it is in logic.
It is. It's a interesting decision, though.
I suppose there's not really any better time to do it, and
Ooh, butter sword.
Wow, butter sword.
Want some cholesterol, Aaron?
I don't, but whether or not Schwartz does, he's got it.
Bow and spike!
Whoa! This is getting interesting.
Because you know what that's going to do? That's going to push sillykyle over towards Palace of Darkness in Eastern.
Yep, and as we know, Palace of Darkness is holding the hook shot. And once he picks that up, he's going to be in a very good place. Now let's see what this Tal Room trip has for Schwartz. It is the big key. He's going to do a death warp by running into the Stalfos a few times.
Sillykyle taking the long way around probably doesn't realize that there's that one stone that he can lift up for the easier access to the Eastern. But without the mirror, he's going to have to do it in this progression. Now, did we see all three items in Eastern earlier?
I believe we did not. I think Armos does have something. I'm pretty sure the last chest they opened was the map. So...
Right, yep, you're right. So we do have an item at the Armos Knights, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, sillykyle may still be reluctant to go into the Palace of Darkness being a pendant dungeon, but we do know that that's the play that sillykyle needs to make, and if he's able to do that, then he can find out what's in the Eastern Dark Death Mountain area. If there's something big over there, the ice rod is over there, the boots or something, other components that we're going to need, guess what? That's bad news for iamtheschwarz.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, it does really seem like putting off Thieves Town is really hurting him. And another way to look at it, going into Thieves Town, the Pendant Thieves Town, and being persistent about finishing it off is really paying dividends for him.
This is going to be an easy Moldorm fight. 2 swipes of the butter sword, and down goes Moldorm without the chance to even troll him. I guess you could say that the first hit was a troll. Oh, the magic cape! Guess what that could do for iamtheschwarz?
Could point him right towards Spike Cave, where he will find a bow.
Yeah, but unlikely he's going to go there right next. He may go there at some point, but I think his next play would be to head on over to...
No, he's doing it.
Because I thought the next play was going to be the Spiral Cave.
I would have agreed, but he's going straight here while he's in the area. And with the half magic and the cape, this is an in-logic play as well.
And another shield falls down from the sky from the Armos Knight, Sillykyle. First shield for them. That means they'll have the Fireball shield when they get to East Death Mountain. And another crystal pickup there for Sillykyle, and there's the bow for iamtheschwarz.
Yeah, rewarded for following the breadcrumbs there for sure.
But that now also means that Spiral Cave is going to be a loose square until iamtheschwarz comes back up.
Yep, and Kyle hasn't been over there either, so we have no idea ourselves if that's going to be a problem or not.
And look at where Sillykyle is going. He is going this direction here. This is the path that I was mentioning a few moments ago. This means one thing and one thing only. He's going to the Palace of Darkness next.
Go to the Palace of Darkness, find that hook shot. And he's looking pretty close to go mode at that point.
But there's one problem.
What's that?
We are 3 items minimum away from go mode. All 3 could be on the pedestal.
Aha, that's what you're getting at. It is true. None of the items that we are looking for are those that are required for any of the pendant dungeons.
Unless we don't get the book. In that case, we need the flute and the mirror to get into desert. But if we find the book somewhere, that means the pedestal is open. And the mirror, the ice rod, the flute, and any of the 2 remaining medallions could be on there.
If you were looking for a pedestal seed, it's probably one of your best chances that you've seen in a while.
Hookshot is in the Palace of Darkness. It is in the Harmless Hellway.
Pretty soon we're going to see what Armos Knights... Oh, sorry, we know what Armos Knights is holding, but we're going to see what Helmasaur King is holding once Kyle finishes going through this dungeon. We're also going to see what's on the right side, which we didn't get to see when Schwarz was here last because he did not have the bow, and I don't think he even had a red potion to do the glitch if he wanted to.
Yeah, he didn't have a potion because remember, he used it to stay alive in the Dark World.
Exactly.
Okay, Sillykyle will head over towards the right-hand side. So we'll get a look at these 2 chests coming up in just a moment. And again, we know that the hookshot's in here. Sillykyle will get to that if he goes deep enough.
The glitch I referred to is a camera misalignment glitch you can do using a potion before that room with the 3 mimics. That will let you force the mimics off screen to get through that room without a bow. You'll still need the bow to finish the dungeon because you need to shoot the green statue, but that would let you get to these 2 chests without using the bow.
So the map's there, which means that the Helmasaur King will have the 5th and final item of the Palace of Darkness.
Yes, indeed.
So iamtheschwarz falling down, and it looks like he'll probably be making the same play. Yep, he's going for the Palace of Darkness. He is following those breadcrumbs.
It's worked out for him so far. After picking up the access to Tower of Hera, which gave him a cape, and immediately use that to go through Spike Cave and find a bow, might be hoping to continue that streak.
The only thing that's not going for iamtheschwarz right now is the fact that he's got to get into Thieves Town to pick up his Tinesmith.
Yep, and he just keeps finding things at the last moment to distract him from going there.
Which means that we're going to find the book at the Helmasaur King to send him on over to desert.
I mean, if the pattern holds true, that's what's going to happen.
And just a reminder that Helmasaur has 2 items, as noted by chat, because this is the Green Pendant.
That's true. If Helmsler has a mirror, and it'll be super convenient to deliver that green pendant too, but we'll see.
If Sahasrahla has a mirror, then that's super annoying.
Yep.
And that bomb didn't work.
Yeah, seeing that now, and maybe Schwartz was doing the same thing. Maybe they weren't setting up for hammer jump, but just wanted to blow up that wall on their way to save a little bit of time.
So that keen hand sillykyle now knows that the harmless hellway, will have something he's going to want to check, so he will get the hook shot next.
Yep, here it is.
Because of the number of keys that he had, he's got the 2 that he needs to beat this dungeon. So there's the hookshot pickup for our sillykyle. Now the question, of course, is what is on the east side of Death Mountain? Dark Death Mountain, that is.
Yep, a lot of places there for things to be. 2 items in Super Bunny Cave, the 4 in Hookshot Cave, and of course the Turtle Rock dungeon itself.
Oh.
Which we still don't know if we can access.
Oh yeah, you're right. Now, does sillykyle go to the Helmsar King at this point? He, without the mirror, and looks at his inventory and then realizes, oh shoot!
But he's not saving and quitting, so that means
right.
he's almost certainly going to Helmsar King.
Can't get back to the front of this dungeon the easy way. And he's got a fairy in the bottle too, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he still does. You're right. So instead of burning that, he's going to go through the harmless hellway and get back to the front of the dungeon that way.
Alright, Helmsar King is going to have an item. The 5th and final item of the Palace of Darkness plus the green pendant. What is it going to be? Is it something important or is it going to be trash? Don't forget, there is still an item outstanding in the overworld that we have never seen.
That's right. Spiral Cave has so far been ignored or inaccessible by our runners. So
that's actually not what I was thinking of. But you are right. I was thinking Zora as a Red Rupee Falls from the Helmsar King.
So still a couple of loose squares for our runners to check. Though it's not really a loose square for Kyle because he hasn't been to East Death Mountain at all yet. Fortunately, without a mirror, he's going to have to save and quit if he wants to deliver that green pendant.
And he's not planning on doing that just immediately as he starts at the... As he goes and starts at the sanctuary, pulls out the hookshot to move himself around a little bit faster.
Gotta wonder if he's thinking about Thieves Town now.
That's what I'm thinking at this point. Is he making the Thieves Town play? And it almost seems to me like at this point, unless it turned out to be Sahasrahla having something important, he would have to make this play.
I just want to point out there, my favorite, most hated bug in this game is how the hookshot can bounce off of enemies' lines of sight, which caught Schwartz there on his way here. He was hoping to get to a tree, but instead, the guard looked at the hookshot a little too hard and bounced it away, and he got caught.
Don't you hate when somebody looks at something that you're shooting out and it deflects off their eyesight?
I'm pretty sure that was the ending of Zoolander.
Couldn't you make the argument that that could be one of those kind of Metal Gear type games too?
Could be.
sillykyle arrowing down the Helmsar King will pick up the green pendant as well as the 20 rupees. Will he make the play for East Death Mountain? I would think at this point for sillykyle, there's a lot more incentive for him to go in there right now. The volume of chests, especially considering the fact that he does not have easy access to Sahasrahla right now.
Yes, exactly. Both our runners are really hurting for a mirror, really hurting for a flute. And it does indeed seem like he's going to be checking out the east side of the mountain right now.
And so, yeah, sillykyle is going to go with the volume of numbers at this point. So if Sahasrahla has something important, we will find out later on. But sillykyle is making the play that you would want to at this point. You have access to 7 immediate items via the Paradox Cave. You have access to the Tower of Hera, then Spiral Cave, then East Dark Death Mountain.
Yeah, Tower of Hera being a crystal dungeon, I imagine he's going to hit that right away. It does this thing. It makes the route a little annoying, but it's going to be a little annoying no matter how you slice it, because he's not going to get the mirror here to make that any easier.
Nice move there from iamtheschwarz, using the hook shot glitch to make 2 hearts out of that single heart, as he was down to a single heart coming up to that drop.
It's an interesting thing to take advantage of if you know about it, but it is possible for some reason to duplicate hearts if you pick them up with the hook shot.
So sillykyle going to do the bomb jumping. Likely again we'll be heading over towards the Tower of Hera. This is something that we saw from iamtheschwarz earlier. So for those of you tuning in at the hour and 1 mark, we are in a 4-2 match. This is a win and you're in brackets. The loser, well, they've got a slight chance of making the brackets, but it's very, very paper thin, their chances of making it as a 4-3 runner. The only way to guarantee you a spot is to win. We are still looking for the ice rod, the mirror, the flute, all needed for go mode, plus whatever medallions are needed for the 2 pendant or the 2 medallion required dungeons.
Yes, it feels like we're a long way from go mode, but we've got all the ingredients for a pedestal seed. If we find the book, as you mentioned earlier, Rick, that's going to blow that possibility wide open.
Yeah, because the book ends up removing 2 items out of the equation. The mirror and the flute as needed to get into desert.
I also want to point out here for sillykyle, of course, he's already done Spike Cave. He's found the bow. So he's not going to have any reason to go there. After this, he's going to go to Spiral Cave, most likely, which is going to be new information for us. And then after leaving Spiral Cave, he's in a good spot to hit a Dark World portal.
iamtheschwarz picking up the bombs, heading on over towards the big chest location, and then we'll head on over to... Actually, no, we already checked the big chest location. We'll go ahead and finish off this dungeon. iamtheschwarz at this point, after he's done with this, will have 2 options. sillykyle at the end of this will have 2 options himself. Ice Palace, East Dark Death Mountain. And there's sillykyle dumping the ferry, knowing that he's trying to do a death warp, and you can't do a death warp with a ferry engaged.
You can try.
Believe me, we've had other runners who tried to do it in past tournaments. We've had clips of those.
Yeah, it's alright. I think we've all been there.
We've all done it before. Oh, wait, I have a ferry. iamtheschwarz beating blind on beeping strats there after getting bodied. Gets the compass, getting the red pendant.
Yep, he'll be very curious to see where he goes from here.
Because don't forget, we've got 2 options at this point, in addition to 2 loose squares that neither runner has checked that has been accessible for a while. Spiral Cave, and also Zora. Because neither runner had enough money for Zora when they made their way up the mountain, or made their way over to Zora the first time around.
So I think Schwarz is telegraphing his choice here with a save and quit to the house. He's probably going to Ice Palace. Or perhaps to deliver the green pendant.
Oh, that's right. Both runners can deliver the green pendant as well.
No, it seems like an Ice Palace play for sure.
Well, considering the fact that he just pulled out the Fire Rod, we are getting an Ice Palace play.
And with Hammer, with Hookshot, absolutely no reason to wait to come here. Unless you are hoping that Dark Death Mountain or Turtle Rock has what you need to move on. But what this means for us is that most likely we're going to have some interesting divergence coming up. With Schwartz going through Ice Palace, and Kyle going to be funneled toward Turtle Rock if he follows like the item locations still remaining here on Death Mountain. I think one of these two is going to strike gold. Maybe
50
both
rupees in the first of 3 chests here in Ice Palace. We are tied in crystal counts. We are tied in pendant counts. What I Am the Schwartz has done as far as overworld checks is a little bit different than what sillykyle has. And, okay, we're about to do the Spiral Cave check. What do you think's inside here, Aaron?
I think it's a big 20.
Oh, if it's a 20 rupee, it's a easy answer. There's a whole bunch of them. As sillykyle going around the Spiral Cave, the Resident Sleeper Way, we're going to find what's inside. What I Am the Schwartz left behind, it's just 50 rupees.
Wow, even better.
Take your 20 and add 30 to it. Ice Palace bomb jump here for I Am the Schwartz.
Having a little bit of trouble getting that horizontal pixel.
And he really needs to keep his health in check at this point, considering the fact that there's no powder at this point, and he's going to blow that bomb up. He realized he was in the wrong spot for it. But you really cannot be down to low health at this point, especially considering the fact that you're going to be going to cold stare.
Alright, so he is bailing on the bomb jump, and this is totally fine, because with the cane in hand, there's no reason why... So with the cane in hand and the hookshot, there's like no reason why he has to do the bomb jump, especially since he's going to be checking out all the items he can here. He's going to have to walk around the whole place anyway.
Our container and a bomb upgrade, the 2 items in Super Bunny Cave. A sillykyle will be heading over towards the Hookshot Cave next, but we're going to get a Thieves Town, a Turtle Rock look first.
Alright, this is a big moment. It's Ether.
The Ether that we have already. But because where sillykyle is, he's not going to be able to access this. We get the big key in the Freezor room, and okay. Hookshot Cave. sillykyle finds a 20 rupee.
sillykyle really wants to find an ice rod right now.
Bug catching net. Piece of Heart. A death for I Am the Schwartz. And a red rupee there for sillykyle's Nothing in the Dark Death Mountain.
Oh, he's going back to the house. I think he might be going to Ice Palace as well.
Yeah, he's got the
which
fire
is
rod
reasonable.
out. He's going to do it as well.
So without that ice rod, it's like without the ice rod and with the fire rod, and to a lesser degree without the mirror, going to Turtle Rock would be pretty scary.
And the Schwartz got hugged by the Freezors, apparently, and therefore caused the death, and they really hurt on Green Tunic.
Yep, I think it's 4 hearts of damage. But thing is that really evened up the race here. Like both our runners, again, as you mentioned, have pretty much exactly the same stuff. And now they're in the same place, and Kyle's only a little bit farther behind in the dungeon, and with a bunch of overworld checks that Schwartz hasn't done.
Yeah, and I Am the Schwartz has only found, I believe, 1 item in here, and that's just the 50 rupees that were in the Pendigator room.
I think, yeah, I think you're right. So there's still 2 left. Schwartz
And they're likely
not
to be on the
opting
east
for
side of
round
this.
2.
And they're likely to be on the east side, too.
It's absolutely true, and without an early key from the Pen Gators, it's always a little bit annoying to route that way.
Well, stay tuned. This race is definitely interesting at this point, as stated before, the winner of this match, they are in brackets. They may want to reconsider their life choices afterwards.
And like, not only is this an important match, but this is an important, very close match. So don't want to look away even for a second, because depending on what these runners find soon, it'll have implications, especially combined with what checks each runner has done that the other hasn't.
I felt bad I had to look away for 3 minutes earlier. Our container is item number 2.
Alright, so just one more. And if this is nothing, then runners are going to have to make a choice.
I think
without a mirror, without a flute, like, it's a little bit annoying to deliver that green pendant and see what's there. But at the same time, Turtle Rock without Ice Rod, without a mirror, that's scary.
I think at this point, if we get nothing in this Ice Palace, iamtheschwarz is going up Death Mountain to check the Hookshot Cave, to check Super Bunny Cave. 6 items in quick succession, and will likely route it so that he does open up through the portal.
Most likely. We still have 1 item to find.
That's not it. That's a key.
Because Kyle did do the bomb jump, he's going to have to jump down here and walk around. That's not it either.
Which means either Cold Stare has it, or it's going to be in this one last chest that you hookshot onto. So you're these kind of runners here. There's the mirror!
Okay.
So
the mirror has been found.
You're in these runners' shoes at this point. Okay? You're in these runners' shoes at this point. What's going through your mind? Because you're so many items away from go mode.
I think if I'm these runners, I'm nervous. Because the theme for both of them has been, I've been finding things at the last possible moment, or close to it. And that never feels good. That makes you feel like you're behind. Even though have cleared as much of the game as you have, when you start getting to the 120 mark, or even the 130 mark, and you're not in go mode, and you feel like you're not particularly close to go mode, you don't feel like you're doing very well.
And there's sillykyle picking up the mirror right there and thinking about it. Maybe
thinking about it, just using it.
Oh, he has to. He has to go get this key. That's why he doubled back, because he's got 0 keys. He's got to go get this key and then go back downstairs. iamtheschwarz going to the cave stress. He does not have a lot left in the magic here, but looks like he gets the cold stare down. That's where the butter sword comes in advantage here. Gets the key, which means by logic, the cane of Samaria was required to beat this dungeon.
Exactly. The Schwartz gonna take that mirror, and we'll see what he does with it. Because, like, not only does this open up Swamp Palace at this point, but it also opens up a lot of assorted overworld locations.
I think at this point, iamtheschwarz is banking on Swamp. Pulls up the hammer, That's exactly the move we're making at this point.
6 items in Swamp Palace, as lengthy and slow of a dungeon as it is, that's a lot of items. In addition, it is the second red crystal, the other one being at Skull Woods, which both our runners already have. That's going to open up 2 more locations, because you can purchase the Super Bomb and go to the Pyramid Fairy.
Quick fight there for Cold Stare for Silly Kyle. We'll grab this key, grab the crystal, and be on out of here. I think iamtheschwarz is getting nervous just based on how he's doing execution-wise in this the last probably about 5-10 minutes at this point, just because of how late we're finding items. And we're still at least 2 items from go mode.
Yeah, like I said, I think both these runners aren't feeling great at this point. And they don't know that the other player is facing many of the same struggles. It's easy to play these matches and like just be scared that your opponent has made all the right calls, made some supernaturally perfect routing in a seed like this.
All right, let's go to the first chest of the Swamp Palace, and Swamp Palace gives us a burrito. Not what these guys wanted to see at this point.
Probably kind of a nasty damp burrito, too. Alright, so this is like one of the reasons why Swamp kind of feels bad to go through when you're in a rando race. As much as I love this dungeon casually, there are these stretches like this one where you feel like you're taking a long, convoluted walk, and there are no treasure chests to check.
Very understandable, because, you know, you're spending all this time getting from one place to another, collecting a key, making your way over to another place, and then finally to another place, and then finally to another place. And eventually you'll get something. And iamtheschwarz, the one's gonna have to be careful with the health.
I know, it's scary. Like, Swamp isn't a super intimidating dungeon in terms of the enemy strength, but it can catch you off guard if you let your guard down.
Yeah, I mean, Argus could be a really difficult fight if you're not very careful at this point. We got a heart container right there, and that does help, because iamtheschwarz still not... finally gets the 10th heart to complete that top row there, and we see him going right straight to Argus.
It's interesting. So this is something that will pay off big if he finds 1 or 2 of his required items in the back. But if he does end up having to just turn back around and go to this dungeon, this is going to make the dungeon as a whole take longer.
I wouldn't be surprised if Silly Kyle does the same thing. Alright, 2 chests here that you just drained to open up, and there's 10 arrows. There's 10 arrows!
At least that room stuck to a theme.
Not what you wanted to see at that point, but that makes 3 items we have seen. There's the compass, which guarantees that 1 item, at least 1 item, is on the left-hand side, if not 2. In fact, it guarantees 2 items are going to be on the left side. Never mind.
Yep, because we got both the map and the compass. Haven't found the big key yet, but I mean,
well, that's
either that leads to another item or it's just in the big chest.
That's what I was starting to think about, is that we don't have the big key, but then I just had to stop myself. Now remember, Argus can still really hurt you
like that
at this stage. Like that. He does 2 hearts of damage if you get bodied by him. So iamtheschwarz is still going to have to play this a little carefully at this point. Make sure that he doesn't get a death here, because a death without the boots is very, very difficult. In fact, we saw that in one of the races earlier. my opponent.
It's a long dungeon.
All right, Argus drops bombs. That's item number 4. But more importantly, that is another crystal.
That's 5 crystals for Schwartz, and Kyle working on the 5th one now.
Yeah, and he's going to go left side first. And Schwartz is coming back in. At this point, you have to.
We have 2 items left to find, with so few locations remaining. There's no way you leave this behind.
But we're going to find out immediately what is going to be inside via Silly Kyle. So stay tuned. We could find something big in here. It could push us in another direction. At this point, flute or book opens up pedestal possibilities. That's a piece of heart. That's not it. And a bomb upgrade, which means the big key is locked inside its chest.
Swamp coming up totally empty in terms of value. Only the crystal.
And also the access to the pyramid bomb.
That's correct. So that's 2 more locations opened up that we got to be thinking about at this point. And of course, Swamp being where it is in the overworld, very easy to just walk up north a little bit to the bomb shop and get started on that right away.
We do know Turtle Rock's medallion. It is the Ether. We don't know what Misery Mire is and have no way to find out at this point, as it requires a flute to get us there.
It's the flute and the ice rod being what our runners need for go mode.
And let me just say this hypothetically.
Okay.
What do you think is going to go over in our runners' minds if it turns out that the flute was at Zora all along?
So, the first thing that's going to happen is an immediate feeling of a black hole of dread rising, just growing in their chest. And then I've got to go to Maya right away. Because if it so happened that your opponent had Mire access from the very beginning and you didn't, you want to do everything you can to nullify that advantage as soon as you can and stop that bleeding.
Well, iamtheschwarz is going to go ahead and check something else before he makes his way to pick up the pyramid bomb.
K45, probably.
What we call K45, the south of Haunted Grove. All right. Is the mirror blocking us from getting something interesting in K45? Answer is yes. Silver arrows. Not necessarily needed for both of these runners' skill set, but it is logistically required.
Not only that, it's a major help, not only with Ganon, but with the Gauntlet. If you've got the arrows to spare, sending him flying can actually help you for some of the trickier rooms.
And there's the crystal pickup for Silly Kyle. He'll be done. Does he make his way over to the south of Haunted Grove, or does he just go straight for the Pyramid Ferry? Looks like he is going straight for the Pyramid Ferry.
Keeping this race extremely tight.
This is going to be a lead for Silly Kyle if iamtheschwarz decides he's heading up to check out Hookshot Cave, but not going into Turtle Rock. Silly Kyle has checked Hookshot Cave and Super Bunny Cave, but didn't have the easy access into Turtle Rock at that point. As I am the Schwarz, Pyramid Fairy, there's the tunic upgrade and 300 rupees. Where can this progression be? Where can it be?
So, Turtle Rock, King Zora, Sahasrahla.
Sahasrahla coming up.
Graveyard Ledge is another thing. There's just like a bunch of assorted little locations, and then the big old specter of Turtle Rock.
All right, Sahasrahla, give us something good. Give us something good for that green pendant. It's a red rupee. No!
Pays you for the errand you just ran for him.
And here goes Silly Kyle going for his red rupee. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Graveyard has not been checked. That's another place that could have the next progression item. Kyle's going to turn in his green pendant and also be disappointed.
Yep, and I am the Schwarz is heading over towards the Super Bunny Cave, Hookshot Cave, and then Turtle Rock. Silly Kyle likely going to make the same move, but without going into Cave 45 where there's Haunted Grove there, means that Silly Kyle is without the silver arrows. Oh, where is he going? Is he going to check the south of Haunted Grove now? Or, yeah, that's exactly where he's going, because he's not going to Zora with this route.
It is absolutely what's about to happen. Or no?
Yes, okay.
That's a portal you don't see used a whole lot in Rando, but it's good to know it's there. If you get Mushroom early, it could be beneficial to actually fake Flipper into that portal and get here a little bit quicker.
Yeah, he's buying some potions at this point as I am the Schwarz is opening up Turtle Rock. So Silly Kyle making sure that he's got the safeties for this end game. Whoa, Bucko, no empty bottles.
Not going into Turtle Rock right away, which is expected.
Zora,
six items here. Oh man, this is important divergence.
87 minutes in, these runners had access to Zora early on. Flippers in Kakariko Village, but they did not have the money for it. Does Zora have progression? And Silly Kyle's probably going to be feeling sick if this turns out to be the flute or ice rod. Or even the boots.
Man, like just anything here. If it's good. You got to feel a little bad about it.
Because you know when the Schwarz is going to get a Turtle Rock next. Alright, Zora, are you a scam? Oh, yes you are. Ledge was the Power Gloves. That was Dark World access about an hour and 15 minutes ago. Silly Kyle now continuing on with the overworld searching here as I am the Schwarz going into Turtle Rock. And I'm starting to think that I am the Schwarz is making the play that needs to be made at this point.
I'm inclined to agree. At this point, you've knocked out almost everything else. Only a few isolated little locations to check, which I mean could be where you need to go. Oh! And just as I'm saying it, we are proven correct. The flute has been found. We have access to the mire area. Gotta wonder if he's thinking about just leaving and checking that out now and looking for the ice rod elsewhere.
That now opens the door also for a possible trip into Desert. So they kind of will get the silver arrows.
And you know what else that means? The pedestal is now accessible.
Maybe. If desert is beatable.
Ah, yes. There's still that question of what's on the torch in Desert Palace. And if one of the keys is there, you'll need those boots.
Looks like Sillykyle's going to head on over towards the graveyard ledge as iamtheschwarz ends up getting jellied. Good spins to knock off the pokey really fast as we go ahead and deal with the chain chomps. They are a beast to deal with when you have the when you have the blue mail. As proven here, when he gets bodied by them, uses the cane, and there's our big key.
Yeah, using invincibility items in the chain chomp room is, I think, an underrated strategy. Because a lot of the time you spend a bunch of extra time dodging around them if their patterns are unfriendly.
Now, wouldn't this be something huge as Sillykyle finds the ice rod here in the graveyard ledge?
I was just about to suggest it. Kyle's spending the extra time and checking all these one-off locations.
It's not. But now Sillykyle knows the answer is up on Death Mountain. It's in Turtle Rock. And 20 rupees at the big key location in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, Kyle trying to route carefully. Doesn't want to leave an ice rod behind and do an unrequired Turtle Rock double dip. But at this point, he knows that either the double dip is required or it's not going to be a double dip at all.
Wouldn't that be something if the flute leads you to the ice rod in Mire Shed, or desert, or on the pedestal?
I mean, it would not be the worst thing that I've seen.
Another hookshot heart there to be 2, and Sillykyle getting dead rocked. This race is not over with, but this is a must-win match between iamtheschwarz and Sillykyle. 92 minutes in, neither runner in go mode. We now are a minimum of 1 item away from go mode at this point.
Yeah, as I said earlier, once you get to around this 80-90 minute mark and you're not in go mode, you're probably feeling pretty bad.
Mimic Cave, Mirror Shield.
Almost vanilla.
I think we call that French vanilla.
So that'll make the laser bridge a lot easier.
Red rupee there, and that also does mean that because we spent the key earlier, it is guaranteed that laser bridge is going to be required. Because we're finding a key in the roller room coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Will Sillykyle mirror out of here with that flute in hand?
That would be super interesting, but yeah, I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, it would make for an interesting storyline, but unfortunately at this point, you've got to go in here until you get all 5 items.
And doing Ice Rodless Turtle Rock is always cruel, just because 4 of this dungeon's treasure chests are right before the boss. So it's like, it's always at least a good idea to continue and keep looking for it. But
one of these chests is guaranteed to be a key, so that means 3 possibilities. And we haven't even seen the compass or the map, so only 2 possibilities. There's the compass. That's item number 1. Only 1 item remains. It's the red rupee. It is not in here.
He's going to find a small key here, but he's going to have to leave.
progression takes us over to the Mire area. Mire Shed, Misery Mire, if we can get inside, or Checkerboard Cave.
Or Desert Palace.
Or the Desert Palace.
So despite the fact that we've only got one small corner of the overworld we're looking at, like, there's a lot of stuff packed in there. And actually, like, a little bit of option for routing.
And we still don't know if the pedestal is required at this point.
And no one's bothered to check. They can't because we don't have the book.
Yeah, no way to check at this point.
Yeah, we have no idea if Desert is boots locked. We like just got access to Desert now with that flute.
And with the uprising of the Swag Duck, iamtheschwarz is going to be heading over towards the Misery Mire area. We will get one important piece of information immediately. What medallion is required to get into Misery Mire?
And even if it's a medallion we don't have, like, it can't be that far away.
But if it's a medallion we don't have, it could very well be at the pedestal at this point. Still not far away, but still.
It's true.
And
it's either.
So we do have access. Misery Mire is beatable. So we're just the ice right away from go mode. That's not it. That's not it.
And there doesn't have to be something in this area because, like, as we just said, if Desert is not boots locked, the ice rod could be on the pedestal.
You know what would be cruel at this point?
Boots on pedestal?
If it was a fetch quest on the pedestal.
I mean, at least they have no way to find that out.
We have a piece of heart in Checkerboard Cave. We are down to 4 items remaining at this point. The 2 that are in Desert, the 2 that are in Misery Mire, before we have the thought of a pedestal required seed. iamtheschwarz is making the play that I believe most people would at this point. You've got to beat this dungeon. Go inside.
Yep. 2 items to find in here, and you're working towards a crystal. Always good to just keep working toward the goal of the game. Collect your 7 crystals, and hopefully you find what you need along the way.
So sillykyle, just because of overworld searching at this point, is a little further behind than iamtheschwarz. iamtheschwarz has not done Zora, has not checked the graveyard ledge.
Just the nature of these races is that if he ever decides that he has to do that, or that he wants to do it, a lot of that advantage is going to just evaporate.
Anything we're talking about for go mode, anything we're talking about pedestal, it all goes away. If iamtheschwarz pulls out the ice rod here as one of the 2 items in Misery Mire, that's a small key. That's not it.
Yeah, this is the point where you just get a little tense every time someone approaches a chest that we don't know the contents of.
I can tell you I'm tense at this point. I hope it's sounding in my voice. That's another small key. That gives us 3 small keys at this point. That's still nothing. My goodness. Somebody in chat was just pointing this out. Do you see how many rupees iamtheschwarz has? That's got to be a tournament high.
It might very well be. But yes, unfortunately, you cannot just bribe Ganon to surrender the Triforce.
Wouldn't that be something if you could go ahead and pay 2,000 rupees? Hey, here you go. You can have all the bacon you want.
So Kyle finding out the terrible truth that the double dip in Turtle Rock was indeed required. Schwarz not going to continue on the left side and instead going right to check this this chest over here.
Interesting decision to check this at this point, but that's just a small key, which means we're going to have the big key over on the left-hand side. We have yet to see an item.
Yeah, not even one. I just think it's likely at this point that Vitreous is going to have one.
All right, first up, let's check this. There's the big key. Do we go into the big key location, or do we make our way to the big chest? We're going to the big chest. We're skipping that big key location. Oh, no, we're lowering the pegs. Now we're going in.
I mean, it makes sense, I guess. You've checked the one chest on the right that requires the switch in the other setting. And, of course, hitting the crystal now will make your life a little bit easier in the second half of this dungeon. Gotta say, though, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
That was an interesting routing decision there. Silly Kyle sees that it's the ether. We'll go ahead and pop into the shed, get these two items, and in the checkerboard, will Kyle go into Misery Mire as well? This is a very tight race. This is a tense race. And inside the big key chest, we find a map. Oh, the big key, the big chest, and Vitreous will have the two items of Misery Mire.
The two very last locations you check.
And the Schwarz will have to be careful with his health. It does have the silver arrows, so it's not that stressful of a fight coming up. But you want to get there.
Yeah. You gotta show up to the fight alive first.
Okay,
right, here we
so
go.
item number one of Misery Mire coming up.
There it is.
The iPod, and I am the Schwarz at 1 hour 42:11 seconds. The first of these two to go into
Go mode.
Finally, go mode.
What a ride this seed has been. And 142 go mode. Like, that doesn't feel good. But it's not even our runner's fault. It's just the way this was.
And again, I'm the Schwarz is going to have to be careful here. Just down to 2 hearts. You do not want to take a death at this point. A death at this point would be absolutely brutal, especially when you don't know where your opponent is.
Exactly. And as chat points out, there's still that 1 in 22 chance that the big key of Yan's tower is on the torch, and they're going to need to continue looking for the boots.
Oh, shit.
But at this point, you got to continue as if you've got to continue. You have to continue as if that's not going to be the case, because even if it is, you've like left almost no other stones left unturned. The boots are most probably in Gan's tower anyway.
Haven't we put these runners through enough?
I mean, I agree, but we got to consider all the options.
Yeah. The options right now are these runners are nervous. These runners are shaking a little bit. There's a lot on the line with this run here. The winner makes brackets. The loser, very likely, 99% certain, they are done with the tournament after this. And we are going to go to 2 hearts on the Vitreous. So I and the Schwarz still going to have to be careful here.
Got to keep his hand steady, and as long as he does that, it's not going to be a problem. Great shooting so far.
Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, misses one.
Just misses one, but that's fine.
And he moves to the side, and that's a good strategy because he does not want to get hit by anything. The eyeball, the lightning, because any of that would be a death at this point. And I am the Schwarz, the first done with Misery Mire. Time to go back to Turtle Rock.
Yep, just gotta walk through Turtle Rock and not run because he doesn't have the boots. You just gotta walk through the dungeon straight to Trinex's room. Man, this is a seed that has like been difficult, not just in terms of execution, not just in terms of routing, but it's been pretty hard psychologically too.
And it turned out just to be a regular bee that was in the bottle that he got off the waterfall ferry about an hour and a half ago. So time to go into Turtle Rock. This is going to be heading over straight to Trinex, and I believe, if I'm counting the items correctly, Trinex has the map?
I cannot recall if it's the map or the compass, but it's a dungeon item for sure.
Yeah, I believe we saw the compass on the laser bridge as sillykyle about to go into go mode as well. About 3 minutes behind iamtheschwarz.
I mean, with so little of the game left to go, that's a pretty big advantage, but it's not insurmountable by any means.
And this lead here really could go away if this turns out to be a where in the world are the boots? Because I got to get the big key off the torch.
Yep, that's the other thing, is that then literally every location in the game that's not explicitly boots locked becomes possibly what you need.
And nerves are going to come into play for both of these runners. How they handle themselves will determine which one of these two will move on to brackets.
So the nice thing about coming to Turtle Rock a second time is that all you got to do is just walk. You don't need to take every path in the sort of lava room where the big key chest is. All you got to do is just go there, and it doesn't take as long as it might seem.
Just would be really nice if these runners could find some sort of helpful safety like the powder.
Yeah, where is the powder? I mean, the answer to that is almost certainly in Gen's tower, but it really sucks to find that late.
So iamtheschwarz. So you gotta take care of these pokies. Easy to do when you have the golden sword. Go ahead and grab the money. Doesn't need to go this way. So this finally realizes he doesn't need to go this way.
Mm-hmm.
Good. That's where muscle memory can get into cause you a little bit of trouble because you're so used to going south from there, not going to the right.
Yeah, there are very few situations where you want to go right out of that room. This is one of them.
All right, let's see how sillykyle does with the vitreous fight and goes ahead and mows down the eyeballs with the silver arrows and gets him down without much of a problem. So sillykyle about ready to head over towards Turtle Rock as well. Funny thing is that if one person ended up mirroring out as soon as they got that flute, this seed would have been about 5 minutes faster.
Yep. Because you would have been able to just go mode Turtle Rock. There was an early big key too.
Nice maneuver there by iamtheschwarz to get himself through the blocks at this point. Heading down to the third basement. Trinex awaits.
Thankfully, with Buttersword, this fight is not going to be that tough.
This is not a stressful fight. I mean, at this point, just hit him, wail at him. You're not gonna single cycle him because you're gonna have him move at least once. Like, there he goes. But that's all you're gonna have him do. And all you need to do now is just spin him a couple of times. He'll be dead. We'll do the big key guessing game, and we'll be on and see whether or not the key is on the torch.
These next couple minutes are going to be very big.
This entire seed's been pretty big. There's the map pickup for iamtheschwarz, picks up the crystal. 1 hour 50. So sub 2, very unlikely at this point.
So, you know the game. Get your big key location guesses in now. Put a number between 1 or 22 in the chat where you think the big key is going to be. The first sub or supporter to guess correctly will get a point on the leaderboard.
I'm going to say number 17.
I'm going to go with 14. I always do.
Like that Bob chest.
I do. As a runner, do you go left first to check torch? Ranger of Wood asks in chat. It's a good question. Personally, I don't, but I like to go left side in almost any situation anyway, so I'll check those 2 chests on the right and then check the torch first anyway.
I stick to the script at that point, go to those first 2 chests, and then walk by the torch and pray that it's not a big key on there. Okay, yep. Let's do this.
Seems like Schwarz is on the same page as us two.
Piece of heart. Big
there
key.
It is.
Number 2. That will do it.
And unfortunately, that doesn't leave a whole lot of room for Kyle to catch up on a good routing decision. The big key just there right away. Congratulations to Zeke Fox for being the first sub or supporter to guess number 2.
So now it just comes down to execution. iamtheschwarz here. Just got to make sure that he remains calm enough to get through this. To make sure that he doesn't make a mistake that will result in him losing any more ground or losing time to sillykyle at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we know it's his race to lose at this point, but he doesn't. And again, coming up on 2 hours in a 4-2 match, if your nerves are going to come into play at any time during this tournament, it's now.
Well, let's see how the gauntlet treats him. As the best equipment possible for this gauntlet. But again, the nerves could be coming into play. And so far, this first room of the gauntlet, very solid.
Yep. Totally smooth there. Taking advantage of the fact that the fire rod doesn't incinerate the Stalfos, it just kills them right away. So they don't have to sit through that burning animation in front of the door waiting for it to open.
Little issue here in this fourth room. Final room coming up. No problems. Done.
This is a fantastic gauntlet. Here comes Landmo 2.
Was there a fight? I really didn't see it.
Yeah, like, is Landmo 2 even there? What's the problem with the seed? No, but seriously, Ian. Perfect silver arrow shooting. Take care of the big sandworms in no time at all. Wow, I mean, we were talking about maybe nerves, but this tower climb is not showing it at all.
Going to the Cape strats here for this room here, and that's a good strategy. It's something I pulled off in my race earlier today, but oh, nice done prize pack there, the big decanters.
I don't think anyone's checked that.
Nobody has.
No.
Unless he did, and we didn't really keep note of it, because he seemed to do that, like he knew what he was doing.
And who knows? But either way, that's super convenient.
Exactly. No need to worry about your magic at that point. Here we go.
He's got to pick up a key for one of these Helmosaurs and continue on his way with gold sword and silver arrows. There's no reason to check anything else here.
Absolutely.
Might, I don't know, open something hoping for a full heal, but that's about it.
You know, I said coming into Ganon's tower that I didn't think the sub 2 was going to be possible. However,
it's very possible now.
It's extremely possible given the fact that we had a big key in chest number 2. And there he goes, heading straight for Aga 2. The only thing he's going to have to be careful of is the fact that he's down to 6 1/2 hearts. But he's got the safeties, and he'll use them for Ganon coming up.
Made sure to stop by the witch's shop and fill up on blue potions, so probably not too worried. He just has to remember to use them.
This Aga fight is not something you have to worry about with your health unless you run into an extreme case of trouble. But even there shouldn't be any sort of problem here. And he's got him, well, if he keeps doing that, he'll have problems, but I don't think that'd be an issue there. But that's a nice double right there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to get out of that. I thought he was going to spin into Aghanim and just take damage, but there was enough room, and it worked really well.
But that was a solid Aga 2 there for iamtheschwarz, who is now, let me see, we are 6, 6, 4, and 4. 20 hits on Ganon away from declaring iamtheschwarz the winner and to move on to brackets.
Yeah, I don't expect any trouble with this fight. Based on how he was handling Ganon's tower, especially that gauntlet, I don't think anything's getting to him at all.
Yeah, I think this is going to be quite the run here to Ganon here. iamtheschwarz waiting it out, making sure that he doesn't take too much damage. Goes to the cape at this time. Good strategy to use. Stays away from the bat. That's good recognition of the delay when you select the magic cape. Immediately gets him to stage 3. Just gonna have to be careful of any bad spawn, and he's gonna try to make sure that he doesn't die to a bad spawn now by using the potion.
Yep, playing it safe, which is good.
So there's the second part of the floor to crumble. There's the third part. And just one more, and then we can go ahead and load him with some silver arrows.
Yeah, we are well past the dangerous part of this fight now. We just gotta not screw up and fall off.
Yeah, and if he falls off, that's nerves right there. And gets him over. Just missed him, just barely. That will be number 2. 2 more arrows, he'll be done. Walks away from him. That was a good decision to do. But otherwise, he would have been hit by the bat, and that would have caused some trouble. Gets him set up here. Could he get a double out of this? Yes, he does. And iamtheschwarz will take this from sillykyle to advance to brackets with a what I thought was not possible of a sub 2. Well, he made it possible with a big key of 2.
iamtheschwarz walking through the door. Your winner. With a time, an official Speed Racing TV time of 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 44 seconds. GG. And wow.
So, as both of us were watching this race, what do you think yielded the win here for iamtheschwarz over sillykyle?
Man, it's hard to say, but I think looking how close this is still, it's got to be the overworld checks that he did not do. I saw it near the end of the race, sillykyle like going around checking overworld spots instead of making the play towards Turtle Rock, and I think ultimately that's probably the biggest decision that cost him. There are lots of other things, but they were just small things traded back and forth, things one person did before the other. I think ultimately that was the decisive moment, that Turtle Rock play.
Well, the Turtle Rock play definitely gave iamtheschwarz the reason to win this race. And I think what happened here with Silly Kyle was the reluctancy to going in there until he started running out of locations. And therefore, it just became I Am the Schwartz's lead to surrender. Because remember, I Am the Schwartz skipped Zora. Mm-hmm. Silly Kyle made sure to get double back to Zora at some point to be ripped out by 50 rupees.
Yep, Kyle just really didn't want to do that Turtle Rock double dip, and I mean, nobody does, but unfortunately, if the seed says it's required, there's nothing you can do to disagree. It's got to happen sooner or later. And unfortunately, it happened later.
So Silly Kyle done with Act 2, about ready to go into the pyramid to face off against the Ganon.
And this will probably be a pretty quick fight as well.
So what do you think was on the pedestal?
Man, honestly, I've got a feeling it could be Boots.
We'll find out when it goes through on the credits on I Am the Schwartz as Silly Kyle gets him into stage number 3. For the longest time, the seed was setting it up to be a pad required seed, but then we finally found the last 2 items. And isn't that the way Rando always seems to work?
Yeah, and like just teases one thing and then ends up giving you another.
And Silly Kyle will finish things off, and we'll go through the door here about 3.5 minutes after I Am the Schwartz. So get your GGs in for both of these runners.
Silly Kyle finishing with an official Speed Racing TV time of 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 17 seconds.
The unknown hat, so therefore it was the other male upgrade.
Wow, not even progression. But now we know.
So with that, we are still waiting for I Am the Schwartz, but we welcome Silly Kyle into the conversation. Your thoughts on the seed?
Wow, that was a pretty trolly seed. Definitely took a long time to complete.
That's for sure. This was, man, this is incredible. I don't know, how were you feeling about the seed like going towards the end of it?
Well, I was definitely feeling behind. I was playing a bit too safe and being extremely thorough in my checks before going to Turtle Rock because I was trying to find the ice rod. And when I was forced to double dip it and finding the ice rod in mire, I knew that it was going to be really hard to catch up. If I just felt behind the whole time at that point.
Yeah, it's always a little tricky. You know, you really do want to avoid that Turtle Rock double dip if you can, but unfortunately it was just required this time.
Yeah, I was really hoping for the Titan's mitts in the back of Thieves Town to maybe hold up my opponent. Maybe he checked the first 4 chests and left, and then finding the bow in Spike Cave, I was hoping maybe he'd put that check off for a while too.
You know, for some time, it was actually looking like that was the case because your opponent didn't even go into Turtle Rock at first.
Rather Thieves Town.
Sorry, Thieves Town, yeah. My bad. Though you did end up finding the bow at almost exactly the same time.
Yeah, both of you had information about the other runner for a little bit there. He knew about the hook shot, whereas you knew about the Titan's mitt.
Yeah, I mean, having 2 required items in pendant dungeons is always a good time.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I just couldn't leave those pendants behind. Like my policy was no pendants left behind.
So, obviously, the way the Seed wanted you guys to operate was to gamble. Oh, look, I just got the flute. Time to mirror out and head on over to Misery Mire. Little did we know that would have been the right play, but long time ago, when it gave you that hook shot, wanted you to pop over to Ice Palace.
Yeah, I was thinking about making the Ice Palace play with that hook shot, because I know the bomb jump for that one room. But I decided to make that dip to pod, and I found the hook shot, and I ended up full clearing it and checking the green pendant at one point, and that took a lot of time. So I think in retrospect, I'll have to go watch the restream later. I think I need to play a little more risky, I guess, especially in a 4-2 race when you're trying to make it into the bracket.
Well, I think this is just also the way the item distribution worked. I mean, if Moldorm didn't drop the cape, your opponent was not going for Spike Cave. He was going for Spiral Cave at that point.
Yeah, because you had the Cane of Berna for Spike Cave, but Schwarz did not.
And that comes down to a luck factor. The fact that he got Moldorm to drop the cape, which gave him access to Spike Cave. So why not check it while you're there? And guess what? There's your bow. I think little things like that, and it seemed like this seed, outside of the early part of the seed, Overworld was junk.
Yeah, I spent a little extra time doing the overworld stuff, like Jeremiah the Bullfrog and doing the purple chest, getting that out of the way as early as I could once I got the mitts, and it led to nothing. So then I gave him the world tour, checking Pyramid, checking Catfish, and came up empty-handed.
Yep, but that's rando, I suppose. It very well could have been the case that the ice rod was just sitting somewhere, just out in the middle of nowhere, and you would have found it.
Yeah, well, either way, I am really happy with my performance this tournament. All my races have been generally close, except for one of the ones I had offline or no restream. But my record with the restreams, I've won 4 and I've lost 1 now.
Man, I mean, you got to say that having a positive record at all in the Swiss round is not something to sneeze at, because there's a lot of really, really strong talent in this tournament, and you came out with more wins than losses.
Yeah, I'm very happy. This was my first Link to the Past tournament and happened to be the biggest one. I felt like I had a pretty tough draw. I mean, all the people I've lost to, they all made it to brackets, so I'm really happy for them, and I'll be rooting them on as I follow them closely. And I actually I got really lucky in round 2 versus Rick, where he forgot about Spiral Cave, which had the mirror.
That stupid stinking Spiral Cave.
Well, I'm glad that it didn't let you just be down on yourself for too long, because I knew you were a great player and that you would do well for the rest of the tournament.
Appreciate that. So, as you are likely to lead this tournament, because at 4-3, you pretty much have a microscopic chance of making the brackets. Anything you want to say as you're about to make your exit from the tournament?
Well, I want to say that's a little bit bittersweet that I didn't make it to bracket, but I do have a lot going on this summer. I'm taking a second semester summer course for Anatomy and Physiology 2, and I'm also going to be preparing for the new Ultimate Raid tier coming out for Final Fantasy next week. So I'm going to be really busy with both of those. So it's a little bit of a sigh of relief because scheduling 2, potentially 3 races a week for bracket was going to be intense. But I will definitely be making an appearance in the fall tournament, and I'm really excited to get my name out there more.
Nice. Good luck to you. Difference in items: 151 for iamtheschwarz, 155 for sillykyle.
Man, just very close race all around. It was this was intense, a little bit brutal, but in the end, an absolute joy to watch and commentate.
Yeah, I think my last hope at the end was Ice Rod on pedestal because I had cleared all the others. So that was my last hope, and then I found the Ice Rod on the chest, and I was like, I gotta hurry back to Turtle Rock and clear it right now and go up to Ganon.
Yeah, it turned out not to be a pedestal required seed. We started finding those last items fast and furious. But we do wish you good luck as you go throughout your summer, and look forward to seeing you in the fall.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the commentary. Thank you for the tracking. Thanks to everyone who watched. It's been an amazing experience, and I can't wait to be part of it again in the fall.
Ladies and gentlemen, sillykyle. We also have iamtheschwarz making a couple of comments. Just was glad that it turned out to be mostly a dungeon rush seed, which is what I was making the note of, that the overworld, for the most part, once we got done with the early searches of Kakariko Village, turned out not to be anything major. So, congratulations, iamtheschwarz, moving on to brackets at 5 and 2. That's going to do it for us here at Link to the Past Randomizer. Coming up in about 90 minutes from now at 8:30, we've got Bloodborne coming up here on Speed Gaming 2. Romantic Core versus Chimera, yo! That's coming up in 9 minutes from now here on Speed Gaming 2. Bloodborne here on Speed Gaming. Hope you stay tuned for that. So, Aaron Dobby, any closing thoughts?
Oh, man. I've been watching and commentating a lot of these races, these final round races, the 4-3s, the 4-3s, 5-2s. It's it's been incredible. These are some of the most intense and interesting close races that I have had the pleasure to watch in all of competitive randomizer, and I'm just really excited to see more talent in this community, more techniques, strategies developed, new features to the randomizer coming. It's a very, very good time to be a fan and a player of this game.
Yep, look forward to see what we have coming up in brackets. Still a few more matches today, a few more matches going on tomorrow. But for the most part, we are starting to close things off here for the Swiss portion of this tournament. Starting next week at some point, we will be beginning the 128-person bracket portion of this tournament. All matches a best of 3.
It's going to be great. If you think these games are intense now, just wait. It's only going to get better.
All right, let's get out of here. Thank you very much to Felix and the crew at Speed Gaming, for Cyclone, who helped set things up, for Danny, who came in on an emergency basis to help us out with the tracking. I'm Adirondack Rick, thanking you for joining us here for this match here on Speed Gaming 2. Once again, stay tuned. Bloodborne coming up in 7 minutes for now. So I'll go ahead and say goodnight, and I'll let Aaron Dobby take us on out.
Good night, everybody. Play more rando.